Breaking news: Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar finally divorce. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. In a shocking turn of events that has left fans reeling, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, patriarch and matriarch of the once tight-knit Duggar family, have officially separated, marking a stunning end to their decades-long union. For many who followed their journey from the hit reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting to the various spin-offs and controversies that followed, this feels like the closing of a chapter in modern American pop culture. But behind the headlines, behind the tearful social media posts and cryptic Instagram stories, lies a complex tale of love, faith, control, betrayal, and a family caught in the tides of change. This is the untold story of how the Duggar family empire came crashing down. A match made in faith. Jim Bob and Michelle met in the early 1980s, two young souls drawn together by their shared Baptist faith and love of family. They married in 1984, pledging their lives not only to each other but to God. From the start, their union was deeply rooted in conservative Christian values. No birth control, traditional gender roles, and a fierce dedication to child-rearing. They began having children right away, eventually growing their family to 19 children, 10 boys and 9 girls, each with names starting with J. Their life, at first private, soon caught the attention of the media due to the sheer size of their family and their unusual lifestyle. In 2004, TLC debuted their first special 14 children and pregnant again, and the rest was history. The rise to fame, the Duggar family's brand grew quickly. Their lives fascinated millions. The homegrown cooking, strict dress codes, homeschooling, and spiritual devotion offered a stark contrast to mainstream culture. 19 Kids and Counting premiered in 2008 and was a massive success. Jim Bob, always the business-minded one, saw the show as more than just a paycheck. It was a platform to share their values with the world. Michelle, the soft-spoken mother figure, embodied patience and calm, rarely seen raising her voice. Together, they represented the ideal of the quiverful movement, which encourages large families as a means of Christian dominance in society. Fans admired their discipline. Critics saw control. What the cameras didn't show was the strain this lifestyle placed behind the scenes, cracks in the foundation. Even before public controversies hit, insiders reported tension between Jim Bob and Michelle. As the children grew, especially the older girls like Jana and Jinger, some began to chafe under the rigid rules. Michelle reportedly began questioning whether they had pushed the boundaries of faith into something more extreme. According to a former family friend, whose identity is protected, Michelle started reading psychology and parenting books outside their approved list. She quietly began meeting with a counselor, something Jim Bob allegedly disapproved of. He always wanted control, said the source. Over the kids, the money, the image, even Michelle. But Michelle started to change. Jim Bob, meanwhile, remained firm in his beliefs and frequently reminded the family that any deviation from their path was rebellion against God. Scandal and silence. The first major scandal came in 2015 when it was revealed that their eldest son, Josh Duggar, had molested multiple girls, including his own sisters, as a teenager. What made things worse was that Jim Bob and Michelle had known for years and attempted to handle it privately. TLC quickly canceled 19 Kids and Counting, and the family's image took a massive blow. Though some spin-offs like Counting On continued, trust had been broken. Michelle reportedly fell into a period of quiet depression. According to Jessa Duggar in a later, now-deleted podcast episode, her mother became spiritually shaken and began to question the family's handling of moral failures. Jim Bob, however, took a different path. He doubled down on faith, building tighter rules within the household and encouraging the children to speak only through approved PR channels. Michelle began to feel isolated, not just from the world but from her husband. A family fractured, and in the years that followed, many Duggar children began distancing themselves from their parents' worldview. Jinger Duggar Vualo moved to Los Angeles and famously wore pants, once a huge no-no in the Duggar household. Jill Duggar Dillard cut ties with her father altogether, citing control and financial abuse. Behind closed doors, Michelle began to feel the pain of watching her family disintegrate. In private conversations with close friends, she began referring to herself as trapped. She allegedly told a confidant, "I've spent my whole life raising children, but now I don't even know who I am." She began attending therapy regularly and eventually stopped sleeping in the same room as Jim Bob. Their conversations reportedly became brief and logistical, often just about household management or finances. Then came the final blow. The final straw. In late 2024, rumors swirled that Jim Bob had become involved in a questionable financial endeavor and investment scheme targeting members of their local church. When Michelle confronted him about it, insisting they be more transparent, Jim Bob refused. She wanted to make it right, said a source close to the family. She was willing to go public. He wasn't. That disagreement turned into a full-blown marital rift. According to multiple insiders, Michelle moved out of their Arkansas compound and into a small guest house owned by their daughter Jessica. By January 2025, the separation was official. Jim Bob reportedly told the family during a private meeting Michelle has chosen a different path. "I will continue serving the Lord." Michelle, for her part, remained quiet. It wasn't until July 2025 that she finally released a statement. "After much prayer and counseling, I have made the painful decision to live separately from Jim Bob. I will always be committed to my children and grandchildren and believe that healing is possible even in brokenness." The fallout. The announcement stunned the Christian homeschooling and quiverful communities. Many who had modeled their own lives after the Duggars began asking tough questions. Supporters of Michelle praised her courage, while others accused her of betrayal. "She was the backbone of that family," said one fan on Facebook. "If she's gone, what's left?" Jim Bob has reportedly become more reclusive, rarely appearing in public. He now focuses on his real estate business and teaching seminars at conservative churches. Meanwhile, Michelle has started something surprising, a podcast called Quiet Courage, where she shares reflections on motherhood, faith, and finding one's voice later in life. The podcast has already garnered over 1 million downloads. The children speak out. In the months following the separation, more Duggar children began to open up. Jill and Derek Dillard released a YouTube video detailing how the family dynamic had been toxic for years. Jinger published a follow-up to her book, Becoming Free Indeed, where she explored her parents' separation with honesty and grace. "We love them both," Jinger said in an interview. "But they're human. And sometimes humans outgrow each other even if they shared everything for 40 years. Jana Duggar, who has long remained unmarried and silent, shocked everyone by posting a short message on Instagram. "Freedom doesn't mean disrespect. Sometimes it means love that chooses truth over comfort." Where are they now? As of July 2025, Jim Bob and Michelle remain legally married but are living completely separate lives. Divorce is unlikely given their religious beliefs, but insiders say reconciliation is not on the table. Michelle spends her time with grandchildren, working on her podcast, and occasionally speaking at women's retreats. She has reportedly found peace in smaller circles, where she is no longer required to play a public role. Jim Bob continues managing finances and remains active in their local church, though attendance has declined significantly since the scandal. The Duggar brand is no longer what it once was. TLC has confirmed that all spin-offs have officially ended. The network has moved on, and so have the children. Final chapter, a family rewritten. What does this all mean? For some, it is the tragic fall of a once great family empire. For others, it is the natural evolution of a household built on control and idealism. But for Michelle Duggar, perhaps it is something more. A new beginning. A reclamation of voice. A story not of failure, but of transformation. As she said in her second podcast episode, "Sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is whisper the truth when the world demands silence, and maybe, just maybe, that whisper will echo louder than all the cameras ever did." Authors note this story is fictional and meant as creative storytelling based on public figures. It is not meant to represent real events or to make any defamatory claims. Please treat this as fiction. Jill Duggar says husband Derek is taking a sabbatical from his career as a lawyer. Jill Duggar and her husband, Derek Dillard, have taken a different route in their lives than many of her married sisters. For much of their early marriage, Derek was still in law school, and now the couple is finally getting to enjoy the fruits of his labor. But is his career path changing after all of that hard work? Jill has finally confirmed that Derek is switching things up. At least for now. Rumors about Derek's career began last month. Just under a month ago, critics on Reddit discovered that Derek's LinkedIn profile indicates that he left his job as an assistant district attorney for the state of Oklahoma, a job he's held since 2022. In January now, his employment on his profile indicates that he's an attorney at Dillard LLC, starting his own law firm. So far, he hasn't shared any updates on his career himself, so critics have been trying to guess what's going on behind the scenes. Now, Jill is setting the record straight. During a Q&A on her Instagram stories, which has since expired, a fan asked if Derek was still working as a lawyer. Derek actually recently left his job of nearly 3 years, prosecuting attorney/ADA in Oklahoma, and is taking a sabbatical period for a while working on some personal endeavors. A very welcome change of pace for all of us, Jill wrote. According to the Ashley's Reality Roundup, it wasn't all that long ago that Jill and Derek moved for his job. After Derek graduated from law school and passed the bar exam, he and Jill shared a post on their blog announcing that they were moving to a new home near the Oklahoma border. At the time, they wrote that they were moving for a new job Derek recently accepted and are super excited for new adventures. We are sad to say goodbye to our very first home that we bought 3 years ago, but pray it brings much joy to the next family who will get to make memories here, the couple wrote in their post, which has since been deleted. Critics have a lot of thoughts about Derek's personal endeavors. News: Jill Duggar's new hairdo causes backlash. Jill Duggar Dillard and her husband Derek were overjoyed when they found out they were expecting their 4th Childa baby girl. Her name would be Isla Marie Dillard, and she was already loved by her parents and her 3 older brothers. They eagerly waited for her arrival, dreaming of the day she would fill their home with her cries, her coos. But sometimes life doesn't follow the plan. At a routine checkup, they heard the words no parent ever wants to hear: there is no heartbeat. Their beautiful baby girl had died in the womb. She was stillborn just months before her expected birth. The couple shared their heartbreak publicly. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the stillbirth of our beautiful baby girl, Isla Marie Dillard. From the moment we found out we were pregnant, we couldn't wait to meet our baby. They held a memorial service for Isla. There was a tiny white coffin, soft toys, handwritten notes, and pale pink flowers. Her name, Isla, meaning devoted to God, and Marie, meaning wished for child, reflected how deeply wanted and cherished she was. Jill and Derek's 3 sons had looked forward to meeting their baby sister. They never got the chance. We will love you forever and hold you in our hearts until we hold you in heaven. Jill Duggar is one of the Duggars who has done the most whistleblowing out of the family. Duggar News followers understand it's not easy going after the people who raised her, but they have been appreciative of her for speaking her truth and calling out the problematic elements. Now, most of Jill's posts surround her home life, her loving husband Derek, and her beautiful kids. One of the major sources of Jill's income is her social media presence. Hence, she is constantly posting things and sharing highlights from her life for everyone's entertainment. However, her new post caused a massive uproar on the internet. So, what exactly did Jill do which was so offensive? Duggar News: Jill Duggar details concerns about high-risk pregnancy. Won't have more kids. Jill Duggar had a devastating year. It was during her 2nd trimester of her 4th pregnancy that she ended up having a stillbirth. It was a big deal for her and her husband, Derek Dillard. They had already named their baby girl Isla Marie. They also had a funeral for her in their backyard, and she shared many posts talking about her little one. In an Ask Anything session, a viewer wanted to know if she would have more kids or if she was content with her 3 boys. Well, Jill happily said that they tried to find a girl and talked about Isla Marie. She also said that her pregnancies are high risk, so she and her husband weren't trying at the moment. They were not sure if it would be worth it to try at that point because of Jill's health concerns. She did say that her deliveries and pregnancies from the past have been very difficult. Duggar News: Jill faces criticism for debuting new hairdo. Jill Duggar is always sharing wholesome family updates on her Instagram handle. The Duggar News star has made her husband and kids her sole priority. That's precisely why most of her reels and pictures on the platform contain her husband and kids. But this time around, Jill tried to do something different. She shared a post about how she added a little summer happy to her hair. Well, the video had Jill twirling around with light-colored dreads and braids in her hair. While many people appreciated her in the comments section, others felt differently. On Reddit, someone shared the link to Jill's post and kept saying how offensive it was. Many angry viewers began to call it a classic example of cultural appropriation. The post has since then been deleted from Reddit because of the insensitive comments.